On to the topic at hand for this video. Basic tools of the trade. This is going to be a tool review. You can Hey everybody, welcome back to Holt Growers. I'm your host Timothy Holt, and this is inside my greenhouse. So it's a little chilly out today. It's in the 30s outside. In the greenhouse, we're in the 50s. It's gloomy out. It's not real sunny. There is some condensation on the inside, which isn't a big deal. On to the topic at hand for this video. Basic tools of the trade. This is going to be a tool review. You can check out the playlist of the other tools, including the Earthway Seeder, where I go pretty in-depth in how to assemble it and give a review on it. I do like it. I do use it quite often. Actually, next week I'll be putting seed in the ground here in the greenhouse for the winter. So, using that seeder. So check out that playlist on the cards, and then let's get right to it. So the first thing is, if you're going to be backyard gardening, or if you're going to be involved in a market garden or a greenhouse such as this, you're going to want to pick up a pair of good work gloves. You're going to be using a lot of hand tools, and so you want to get some good hand tools. You can get some cheap ones at like Dollar General and what have you, but some of those are pretty good. But you definitely want some good hand tools, like this one right here, which is some shears, some trimmers. This is what I used. You can see in that time lapse, it cuts through a lot of your thicker stalks and crops. So if it's got a solid stem, you're going to want some trimmers, some like these. Make sure they fit your hand well. I've used different ones. I like this one. I'm not sure what brand it is. My wife actually picked it up for me, and I'm glad she did, because it's very comfortable in the hand. It's spring operated, as you can see. It's easy to handle. It's got a nice lock, so you can lock the blade in. There it goes. You got to have the blade all the way, almost all the way shut for it to lock, so it's safe. It's not going to stab you or cut you in the lock position. So, and then to unlock it, you just push it forward. It's supposed to be used for your thumb, but my hands aren't quite big enough to do that, see, very easily. But it's a basic hand tool. You're going to want some of these, at least one pair. Make sure it's sharp, nice and sharp. You do not want a dull pair, or you're going to risk injuring yourself. So make sure these are sharp, and I do mean sharp, because you want them to cut with ease. You do not want them jumping or shifting abruptly when you go to cut something. Next tool that I use, that I find invaluable in backyard gardening and greenhouse work, is another hand tool. These are all hand tools, but this tool I definitely use more than probably any other tool on the farm. Okay, and that is a garden fork. This beast right here. This one is True Temper, I think this is the brand. But I like it. You're going to want a good digging fork. Make sure it's got some nice thick tines on it. Pitchfork with the thin tines, that's good for mixing, for like stirring hay and stuff like that. But for gardening, you're going to want a nice, good, thick, solid digging fork. I like this particular brand. I'm not sure where I picked it up. I've had it for several years now, for a couple of years now. I've went through a few of them. Actually last year, one of the older ones had a wood handle, and my son broke it digging out a rock in our southern beds. So I picked this one up, I think 2 or 3 years ago. I really like it. You want to keep it in good working order, good shape, so keep it out of the weather. Only take it out when you're using it, clean it up, and store it appropriately so it doesn't rust. Rust is not a good thing. And make sure you check it out every time you go to use it. But if you're going to get into backyard gardening, you're going to want to pick up one of these. Like I said, this digging fork I probably use more than anything else on this farm is this thing right here. It works really well. So it stabs into the ground. If the ground's already soft, you can just work the ground just like that. Okay, just using one hand. It's a good tool. However, the ground's a little sturdy, a little solid, like this has been from walking on. Just put one foot on it and shove it in the ground. Pry it back, and that's why it's called a digging fork, because it works really well for digging up pretty much anything you want. Matter of fact, I just dug up a piece of plastic. It looks like from an old toy. So we'll put that over there in our bucket. All right. Digging fork works really well for breaking up the ground. See, you can just pull it up. Now I don't always turn over the entire bed like that. That was just demonstration. Usually I stick it in, break it, stick it in, break it, like so. Okay. So you can see how well that digging fork works. So get yourself one of these. Alright, now for the next tool. I use this when I'm doing direct seed and I'm not using the seeder. This is, since I got that seeder, that earthbound seeder, I haven't used this tool nearly as often. I used to use it all the time when I was hand seeding, and it works really well for that. It is a triangle head hoe. So you'll find when you go to get a gardening hoe, you'll find two different basic styles. One is the triangle head, and the other is a square head or a flat head. A lot of people I know like the flat head or the square head, depending on where you're from. I don't. It took me a while to find this one. It's got a nice gripped handle, nice solid stock here, and I do take care of it. I don't want it to rust because it took me a while to find it. I find the square shaped head substantially more common, a lot easier to find, but I like this triangle shaped one, and the reason is, if we go back here to our broken up patch from our gardening fork, we just set it in there, and that triangle head breaks up those bigger chunks that the fork didn't get. And then also, it's really easy to make a bed rail. All you do is just run it right across, and it just moves the soil right out of the way. It works well. As you can see, there's a nice line there for direct seed. So when I was hand seeding, I use this thing all the time. I don't use it near as much since I got that seeder, because the seeder does the job that this does pretty well, but I still use it to break up those bigger pieces that I don't get with the fork. So it's still a very important tool, hand tool when gardening. So be willing to pick one up, especially if you're doing any hand seeding. If you're doing any hand seeding, this thing is going to save your back. It's going to save your hands. Definitely worth picking up. This tool is borderline amazing. Okay, I use it for mixing compost. I use it for digging out the fire pit. Anytime I really need to move a lot of material relatively quickly, this is the tool I go for. It's the one I reach for. It is my #2 sand shovel. This thing is a great hand tool. Again, especially with a #2 sand shovel, you want it nice and balanced, as you can see. Nice and balanced. You want a good shape on the head. Needs to come to relative point. It's rounded, but you don't want a big concave there. You want so you can dig down in. Also, a lot of #2 sand shovels, this is a feature of this one. Foot pegs. That is, you want those nice and wide. Don't get the little narrow ones that are going to bend on you as soon as you put any weight on it. Make sure you get some nice wide ones. This particular sand shovel has little holes there with indents to give you some good grip. So pick yourself up a number 2 sand shovel, round head. Flat head works well for like the chicken coop and taking the manure out and bedding out, but that's about all I use the flat head for. The round head I use a lot. I don't use it as much as the digging fork, but I do use it quite a bit. If I can't get it with the digging fork, this is my go-to right here. Again, make sure you have a nice handle. There's 2 different style handles. There's this style, which I like, and then there's the long handle if you really need to put some pressure on it. And I have one of each, but in this video I'm only showing this one because I use it so much more often. Last tool on our list of necessary hand tools is this one right here. It is a long-handled garden rake. Long-handled garden rake. I've seen variations of this. I know some people like the bigger tines, the longer ones. I don't. I like this one. This is my go-to gardening rake. It works well. You've probably seen me use it in several other videos. It's like the other hand tools. You want a good solid construction. This one is ADX brand. I think that's a big box brand. But I like this one. I've had it for a couple of years now. It's in good shape. Nice welds on it. The handle's solid construction. The head's not coming out. I like those tines. They're not too long and they're not too fat. Some of the other gardening rakes that I've used have bigger tines. They're fatter and they just don't seem to work as well for me. I'm not a real big guy. I'm 5'7". I weigh about 170 pounds. So I'm not real big, and this little garden rake works really well for me. The other side of that, part of that, is it's relatively light. As you can see, I can like spin it around, handle it with ease. So unlike the digging fork and the number 2 sand shovel, gardening rake, I like it on the lighter side. Those 2 tools I like to be heavy, stocky, get the meat, so to speak. But the garden rake, I like it on the light side. And the reason is because it's already loose. So with the gardening rake, all you're doing is leveling out that bed. You don't need to put in a lot of force or effort into it. You can let the rake do the job, and you're just leveling it out. You're just smoothing it out, raking it out, so it's nice and even. These are the hand tools of the trade. This is my tool review. These tools, I believe, are invaluable for any gardener, no matter how big of an operation you're doing. If you're gardening directly into the ground, these are tools I think you're going to definitely be thankful for. If you're doing potting, that's another set of tools. But if you're working in a greenhouse, directly into the ground, you got an outdoor garden, these are the tools that I think that are necessary for doing the job. Okay, doesn't matter how big your garden is either. These are it. Triangle shaped garden hoe, a good garden rake, a nice number 2 sand shovel, round head. Flat head's good for some things, but the round head is really what you want. And the most valuable tool that I have here on the farm is this right here. A good solid garden digging fork, okay? And some hand trimmers, okay? I almost forgot about those. But pick yourself up a pair of work gloves, pick yourself up these 5 tools. I believe are invaluable to any gardening whatsoever. So you're going in the ground, you got a garden outside, pick yourself up these 5 tools. Hey, if you don't mind, YouTube has this thing. I'm trying to grow this channel. So it's called their algorithm. And if you hit that subscribe button, that'd be great. If you don't want notifications, just hit no notifications. But the subscribe button down below, that'd be wonderful. Okay? Help my channel grow. If you want notifications, hit that silver bell. All right. Click on the bell right next to the subscribe button. That would be a good thing too. You'll get notifications. I try to upload new videos every week. Okay. If you like this video, leave a comment. Let me know why. All right. And hit that thumbs up. If you don't like this video, leave a comment. Let me know why and hit that thumbs down. All right. I'd love to hear from you. And I want to produce better content for you, the viewers. So if you're interested in backyard gardening, if you're interested in the market side of this, particular crops I grow, you name it, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. So this is Timothy Holt. Thank you for coming, and get out and grow something today. This is Holt Growers. I'm not sure how to close this video. Oh yeah, if you're putting back... The key to using a digging fork is pretty simple. This bed right here is where those tomatoes were. It's not ready to seed yet. It will be next week. I'm going to be putting plastic back over it and letting it cook a little more. So, but just to demonstrate, make sure our camera can see that well. Okay. Looks like I need back up a little. Here we go.